everyone, welcome to Deep Dives with Dogs. Today we're going to talk about the uh, election of Abraham Lincoln and kinda, really, how the South kinda allowed him to win. Well, obviously, Abraham Lincoln, he is a Republican candidate. The majority party of the time was not Republican, it was Democrat. Democrats had been a party for quite a while. There used to be, actually, at one point, they were kind of like the only party. There was another party kind of before them, which was not kind of before them, but was before them, um, which was the Whig Party, kind of a holdover from the old colonial days. The Whig Party, though, dies out, and you get the Democrat Party basically being all alone. That's all that's left. And so they're kind of dominant, and then the Republican Party rises up about 1850s or so, and their second candidate is Abraham Lincoln. They had run one candidate before, 1856 election. They didn't win, but Lincoln, he does. And now if you look at the ballot for 1860, there's four candidates running for president. Three Democrats and one Republican. Many will say that it's because of this that Lincoln won. And you could say partially, but it's not quite true either. If you look at the raw numbers, Lincoln had more votes than even if all the Democrats piled up their uh, votes together. Now, a singular candidate could be stronger. That's where the technically, if they would have just only run one candidate, they probably could have won, because one candidate is definitely a more powerful sell than three different ones who, oh, I like this guy, oh, I like this guy, or, you know, and people looking at the Republican Party going, oh, well, I kind of like this Lincoln guy, I don't really like any of the other three, or the other three, like, who cares? And so it seems like a more unifying party at that point, so you'd go with them probably. Lincoln obviously gets elected, becomes president, and then basically right away, the secession crisis happens, where the southern states then secede from the Union, or try to secede from the Union. Technically, they don't, but then kicks off the Civil War. Uh, Realistically, they kind of jumped the gun on this if they were really going to try to do this. They should not have seceded. I don't know why they thought why they thought it was legal. It's not. It's not legal to secede. Never has been. Um, Maybe during the Articles of Confederation, but that doesn't apply anymore. Um, but it also was just kind of dumb. Their reasoning for secession, they would say, oh, it was states' rights. But that's not true. On the day of it, they were talking about slavery. It was about slavery. They thought for sure, and it's reasonable to think this from their perspective, that Lincoln was going to abolish slavery. Now, why would they think that? The Republican Party, kind of an abolitionist party. Not fully, but it more or less is. Lincoln even thought slavery should end too, but a lot of guys in the Republican Party, including Lincoln, were more of the, hey, we're not going to rush it right now because that's not going to do nothing. It ain't going to help nothing. Nobody's going to want to do that, and it's just going to cause issues. So what we're going to do is kind of let it lead a slow death. Kind of like how the Founding Fathers thought. That was why, if you actually look at a lot of the documents from back during the American Revolution, when they talk about slavery, there was a provision for it that said after a certain amount of years, the slave trade in the United States will end. Everyone was fine with it. Everyone was cool with that. But then Eli Whitney invents the cotton gin, which allows slavery to become way more profitable. Before, slavery was like, it's kind of more of an easier time, it's just easier to do, things like that. But with the cotton gin, you can then mass produce cotton to then make big profit. So that's what keeps slavery alive. Now the founding fathers probably should have thought of something like that, but they didn't. Clearly, they knew technology advances, so they should have thought of something like that. But to be fair, that is a very specific invention that, you know. But slavery doesn't die that natural death. Now, they think later, in about the 1860s, 1850s, hey, we can get it to die a natural death now, maybe. We could put provisions in, says, hey, after X amount of years, slavery is over, okay, it's all good. But that didn't happen. Didn't happen. Instead, we have secession. Oops. Thankfully, things ended no matter what. Rocky, why are you barking at people for? You hear that? What a rude guy. He's just barking at people. But thankfully, slavery was ended. Um, Sad it took so dang long, though. Isn't that for sure? It took way too long. Let me get that out of your hair, mayhem. And it all started because a Republican candidate, the second one to ever be run, was a better candidate than the Democrats. But now you know.